thank you all for coming, and welcome. I am more than nervous. I'm just going to say it now. I've just been bricking about this for about 6 weeks, so I'm going to say it now, and hopefully that'll dispel some of the power it's had over me. Yeah, and I also just want to talk about the topic, the title I chose, which is really inappropriate, I know. When I was asked what I wanted to title this as, this said for me what I wanted it to say, but the fact that it's taken from an old Heineken ad was, I mean, wholly inappropriate, so I apologise for that, if that's offending anybody. Yeah, I mean, so one of the reasons I wanted to do this talk is because I can tell you, if I didn't feel I had something that I really wanted to say, I wouldn't be up here, because it's my ultimate terror. But you know, I trained as a coach about 8 years ago now, and I've been trying to kind of you know, I get met with an awful lot of enthusiasm and encouragement, and it's all very loving and wonderful, and yet I'm finding that it's that sort of finding the way into integrating coaching in working with addiction is, in this country anyway, I'm finding personally quite, there's a struggle, you know, it's kind of where to put it, and so I hope I can kind of illustrate that a bit today, because I mean I do work with a lot of people in recovery and transitioning people out of treatment and into life, and I feel that there really is a very solid place for coaching here. So, okay, I've never worked with the PowerPoint, so if I keep forgetting what I'm doing, someone give me a nudge. So, I mean, for me, I would love to see coaching as an integral means of support for recovery and providing early supports to addict wanting recovery. Because I think if there's a desire to get clean, there's something to work with. In bridging the gap between treatment and life and improving long-term recovery rates by supporting recovering addicts and creating a fulfilling life, which again I think is key to a sustained recovery. And I, as I say, came to coaching about 8 years ago when I was about, I'm going to out myself, I'm in recovery. I sort of slightly assume everyone here is, but they probably aren't. But I am. I was about 19 or 20 years clean when I found coaching. And the reason I mention that is because coaching for me really had helped me kind of integrate things that I was really struggling to integrate, learning and behavioural changes and thinking and changes to my thinking that I just had really struggled to do, well, on my own and not on my own. You know, that was your, oh thank God, I thought it was mine. Yeah, so integrating all that stuff with all the other sort of therapies and treatments, and God knows I did a million workshops, and there was something about having someone to check in with and hold me accountable and had me do what I said I would do that I needed, you know. And I suffered and struggled terribly with procrastination, which I think a lot of addicts probably do. I'm maybe one of the best at it, I don't know, but it really did help me stay focused, get on with stuff. I'm easily distracted. I will do anything to avoid. So coaching just kind of kept me kind of, you know, it's not rocket science coaching. It's just very supportive and loving, and you know, it's just a lovely, it's just lovely having someone alongside you, is my experience. So I found it very helpful in moving me forward in my work. I mean, I absolutely wouldn't be here today without coaching, because I've needed a lot of managing through my fear, and my fear has had me procrastinate and avoid even more than usual. So, and because I see how well this works with my own clients. I hate saying that because it sort of sounds big-headed, but it's the coaching I feel is working well with the clients. So my passionate belief that coaching has an integral role here is the other piece that's got me up here. It's the goal, if you like. It's what's motivated me. So what I'm going to do today. Oh no, okay. So this is a little quote that I wanted to just put up there at the front of this of my presentation, because, you know, if we see recovery as a cake, because it says what I really want to say about coaching. Coaching's like the eggs in the cake. You can make a cake without eggs, but it's better with eggs. And that isn't really any well-renowned author, but it's just a friend of mine who said it rather beautifully, so I put it up here. So this is going to be the arc of the presentation, I hope. That's kind of the idea. I'm going to do a systemic tool with you to begin with. It is an interactive tool, so I really hope you'll all get involved, but there's no pressure to do so. And then I'm going to talk a bit about coaching and addiction, and if there's time, have a little bit of discussion. I'll put that up there, yes. And that's so boring, a bit of it, so don't read that. Let's move on. So, coaching as a means of working with addiction. I want to check in with all of you and see where you're all at with this subject matter. I'm going to invite you to do a constellation in the room. I'm going to need you all to get up out of your seats in a minute, if you're up for it. Yeah, and it's a very, very simple process. This is just a way of getting a snapshot of where a group of people are at in relationship to any subject, any topic that you choose, and it's just a lovely tool for systemic work. So before we begin, I did just want to create as safe a space as possible for everyone to do what they need to do and feel like they can express themselves freely in the room, should they choose to do so. And for that, I was going to suggest a judgment-free zone. It's something that we always do when we work with this tool. Yeah, to create that safe space. So can I just have a show of hands in the room for a judgment-free zone? For the duration of the workshop, actually, that'd be great. Thank you. Oh, how lovely. So, I want to invite you all just to come to the front of the room. I've tried to clear as much space as I can at the front of the room. It seems to be the only place that we could... No, don't worry. I don't think we'll need it. And if we bear in mind that the topic is coaching as a means of working with addiction, and I want to invite you to stand in the room where you feel you are at with regard to this subject. So if we say the left-hand side of the room, you're feeling very enthusiastic about coaching as a means of working addiction, and fiercely opposed being on this side of the room. And wherever you might feel you are on that spectrum, and please feel free to move around and feel where feels right for you. This is very encouraging. No judgment, of course. That's hilarious. Okay. I'm going to come out from behind here. Gosh. Fiercely opposed is over here, ambivalence is anywhere in the middle, and very pro is at the other end. Okay. Well, that's really... Okay, I have no judgment. Okay, well, as you can see, this immediately gives you a very clear idea of kind of where this particular system is kind of at, without anyone saying a word. But what it would be great to hear from one or two of you. So I'm wondering if there's anyone who'd be willing to just say, you know, why they're standing where they are. Is there anyone who'd like to say from the back of the... Okay, yes, you, lovely, thank you.
I did a tiny bit of coaching training, and what I love about it, I sort of above a lot of other therapies, is how much it empowers the person.
Yes.
Because the presumption is that they have their own answers, and you're just supporting them finding it, rather than like a helping, which will always lead to a sense of that that person can't trust themselves because you're giving them the advice. It's all about that person trusting themselves, which, especially with addiction, has often really been lost, that self-trust. So that's what I love about the whole idea of coaching.
Do you want to come up and just do my presentation? Thank you, yeah.
Can I
yes, please do.
Skeptical question.
Yes, do.
So how, to an amateur like me, can you differentiate what you're talking about from, how shall I say, successful sponsorship in the 12-step?
Okay, I'm going to talk perhaps a bit more about that, or perhaps we could keep that for Q&A, if you wouldn't mind. But yeah, I'm more than happy to answer that question. But for the sake of this exercise, well, perhaps it would be helpful. Would you like to say why you're standing where you are, David?
Well, I'm a few years in recovery, and I've had a couple of sponsors, and I sponsor people, and I'm not quite sure how what I try and do, I'm not always successful, differs from what you do. And I'm intrigued and I'm curious. I've never been coached formally, professionally, but I may have had coaching, might I, through the rooms? I don't know. So I'm just I'm a blank canvas waiting to have something sketched on me.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Can I try and answer this gentleman's question a little bit?
I'd love you to, but later. But I'd just like to stay focused on this exercise, if that's okay. Yeah, but I'd really appreciate that later on. That would be great. Thank you. Anyone else like to? Yes, at the back of the room.
I had trouble with a project. I was writing something, and I just wasn't doing it. And I worked with a coach, and the accountability hugely helped me. I don't know why, but it helped me immensely.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, thank you. Why you?
I work as a coach.
Yeah.
My background's in music, and I'm currently working with some of the girls at Amy's Place, Amy Winehouse Foundation. And that wasn't what I necessarily intended to do, although there's a lot of drug issues and addiction issues within the music industry, which is my sort of speciality. But I agree with you, Sadie, that it's first of all, it's the empowerment, and that you won't be told what to do. It all comes from you, and that is, you're far more likely to follow that through if it's coming from you rather than if someone's told you what to do. Even if they told you in the absolutely nicest possible way, it's still someone else's agenda. And that empowerment together with the accountability that everything you mentioned, I think is the real driving success in coaching and addiction.
Thank you. Anyone else got a burning desire to share why they're standing where they are? Yes, please.
Not a burning desire.
Well, I'm welcoming all voices.
I mean, for me, any kind of coaching, it's different from therapy and it's different from support. It's a process-driven thing with support. So if you're, say a sports coach, they tailor for the individual athlete that they're working with. So basically they don't say, yeah, go on, you can do it, and that's the end of the story. It's like, no, and here are the processes that you're going to go through to achieve the end that you want, the self-defined end that you want to achieve, which is, to win that gold medal or whatever it might be. And it's the same with any kind of project. I think the first thing is, where do you want to be? And so what's the roadmap to take you from where you are now to there, and then how am I going to support you in doing that work along the way? So that, to me, it seems a very, very clearly defined process. It's not open-ended and endless, and it's not woolly.
Thank you. Great. Well, unless anyone else wants to be heard, I'd invite you all to take your seats. Thank you all for participating. Quite disruptive, isn't it, doing this? But I'm all right. Oh, thank you, Di. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Yes, lovely. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I've never had this, actually. I seem to have lost the... I probably pressed the button, Ridian. I'm sorry.
Donald Trump.
Hopefully not. Thank you. Thank you. So, just to be completely transparent with you, I mean that's known as an informal constellation. Some of you may or may not be familiar with it, but the reason for doing it for me personally was to develop awareness of, and for all of us to see, how we all in this room feel about this topic. It was to demonstrate and give an experience to you guys of a systemic coaching tool, and hopefully a tool you can take away and use, should you want to, if you work with families or groups. I mean, where might you see this process being used? Has anyone got any ideas where they might?
I think therapy would be really useful.
Yeah.
Actually, seeing how the group feel,
Mm.
the work that they're doing, whether they want to be in treatment, where they are.
Yeah.
Super useful.
Mm. Great.
I meet with 3 friends in recovery every Friday morning for breakfast because we're all self-employed. And the meeting is specifically, we all talk about, because we just live in our own worlds, work from home. We have no particular deadlines apart from our own ambitions. And it's been extraordinary. I don't, it's not coaching per se, but I feel like it's got elements of what I imagine coaching would be good at. We're all checking in, we're all going, didn't you say you were going to do that? Haven't you? So I suppose we've created our own weird
Little system. Yeah. Great. Thanks, Sophie. Yes, and with family work, if any of you work with families, you know, you could constellate around, I don't know, communication in the family. You know, how do we feel about communication in the family? For instance, you get a very clear idea where the family are at and feeling safe. You know, if they're feeling safe, communicating with each other or not. But anyway, so I'm getting very dry. We know that addiction is a systemic issue. I'm preaching to the choir, I know. So what I'm just going to try and do is hopefully illustrate where coaching is useful with this illness, and it will be where it's impacting a system. If it's an individual system, we know that it's part of us, but also it impacts our family life, our finances, our health, you know, both as an individual system and as a family system, or whatever other system our clients or patients might be residing in. So again, I'm just really wanting to sort of draw attention to the fact that systemic coaching works really well with these systems. Yeah, okay. I'm sort of jumping around in my notes. I'd love to do this. I'd love to ad-lib it, but I'm just not sure I'm quite there yet. I'm doing my best here. Anyway, so a systems coach can work with a family, empowering family members to see they have choices and what choices they want to be making. Because the idea of systems coaching is really about bringing awareness to the system. Once you have awareness, then you can make decisions about how you want to move forward. It's a very, you know, addiction is by its very nature an illness of denial, so it's highly unlikely that an addict is going to admit to being one, unless they're in recovery. And systemic tools can flush out the denial, at least to the impact. And we call this, as I said, bringing awareness to the system. And there is much research and data. Did you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to say that what strikes me about using a constellation like this is that it's a gentle,
yes,
but embodied way. So it's one thing to know something in our head, but I found this for years, but it's a whole other thing to be able to actually act on that.
Yeah.
But this is sort of a gentle leading into actually acting on what we're experiencing.
Mm.
For a family that's dealing with an addict, I think it can be a gentle way to help them start to express things without having to try to find words, which can sometimes be really confrontational and painful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great point. So there is much research and data that tells us that a positive relationship is more productive. And again, using the systemic coaching, you know, where negativity is festering, it will impact the functionality of the team. So once a system has awareness, it can figure out how it wants to proceed and what can bring more positivity. And as a systems worker, I believe that the system has intelligence. And system, I know, is a really kind of, I don't know, it's this kind of bland term, isn't it? But it's just a word that adequately covers all sort of, it's a term for all the systems that one can think of that an addict might be part of. I could do an entire presentation on systems coaching. I'm not going to today, but I'm going to focus mainly on individual coaching from here. But there are people in the room to talk to about this afterwards, and Nari being one of them, who's, if anyone's interested in talking more about systemic coaching. So I was wondering, I was wondering who I've got in the room here. Yes?
Could you just define systemic coaching? I'm not sure that I understand what it is. Is that possible for you to say that in a few words?
Define systems coaching, Nari.
It's where we know that the individual has many sub-persons. So if you're looking at it from an individual perspective, there's many sub-personalities, and we call them different parts of it. So the different systems in the human system, individual system. And systemic in a wider sense is the relationships you have with other people and they have with other people. It's like a spider web connecting to the individual. So we coach the whole system that the individual is part of, all the sub-personalities of the individual.
So that we feel the system, the system is one entity, but there are many voices maybe in the system. Has that answered your question, or do you feel...
Well, it certainly made me curious.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, that's good. I'll leave. I didn't prepare for this, which I probably should have done, for this to come, but I would love to talk to you more about it afterwards. Yes, so I wanted to find out who's in the room, really. People who work in treatment centres, could I have a show of hands? Yeah. Thank you. Therapists, lovely, thank you. Coaches, oh great, lovely. Yoga teachers, yay. And anyone here just for personal interest, and not just, actually, that's a terrible way of putting it, isn't it? But welcome, thank you. Okay, that's helpful to know who I'm talking to. I don't know how many of you know about coaching. I do know that there are quite a few that do, but the definition, anyway, for those that don't, by the International Coaching Federation, is the partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximise their personal and professional growth. And as coaches, we walk alongside our clients, loving them, supporting them, championing them. I mean, people have said this so beautifully already. Asking them the questions that will bring them the awareness, that will empower them to move forward towards whatever goal they want for themselves. And that's key, really. It's the goal they want for themselves. I mean, coaching is not therapy, but it is therapeutic. It differs to therapy in the lens through which it views the client. It's client, not patient. They're not damaged. We see them as resourceful, and the people we work with as resourceful and able and creative and whole, and that the client takes responsibility for their life and the outcomes of the coaching. The coach is not an expert, but just works alongside clients. And we differ from a mentor or consultant. You know, we don't give advice, but we encourage and aid the client in finding their own answers. I want to talk a bit about coaching skills and the relevance to addiction. I mean, the nature of addiction, as most of us are well aware, is denial. It's a condition that forgets we have it. It's a condition that tends not to learn from past mistakes, arguably true of the human condition. In order to get well and stay well, it is vital to learn from our mistakes and implement new and different behaviours. It's a condition... Have I moved on? Sorry. Oh my God! Okay, and that's gone all diddly-squat because I put it on the wrong format, didn't I? Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, that's just what I'm going to talk about. Yeah, okay, I'll stick with this then. I really wish I didn't have a PowerPoint. I was really in two minds whether to do one. Anyway, I do. So, thank you. Well, I hope you like the colour scheme. That's really most important. So, yes, it's a condition of negative thinking. It is typified by chronic low self-esteem, lack of self-belief, self-absorption, self-obsession, and fear, oodles and oodles of fear. It takes a lot of support to abstain from active addiction, and coaching is such a great medium for addressing each and every one of these traits. And others, that's not an exhaustive list, I'm very aware. So the coaching skills, I'm just going to kind of run through, because it's a list, and lists are boring, I think, but anyway. So co-creating the relationship between coach and client builds relationship, relationship skills, empowers the client to empowers the client and shows respect for their views and perceptions and learning style. And it's esteem building, just the nature of creating that relationship. And this is something we check in with all the time. You know, what's working, what isn't, what do you want from me, what do you want more of, and you know, there's a constant dialogue between coach and client about the relationship. Powerful questioning, building awareness, reframing, challenging, perspective shifting, increases positivity. Direct communication, creating awareness and with inquiry and interpretation, always checking in with the client. As I say, the client we hold as resourceful and creative and whole, and we champion new behaviours and actions, including those involving taking risks and fear of failure, which, you know, for me has been a huge part of recovery. And just the nature of the relationship bolsters and helps build self-esteem by showing respect, as I say, for the client's learning style and way of being in the world. Planning and goal setting has our clients keeping them moving forward and feeling good about their lives and how they're doing in their lives. And managing progress and accountability. Good, I'm glad that list is over. So, as is maybe already apparent, I'm very keen to raise the profile of coaching in the addiction treatment and recovery sector, whilst at the same time dispelling the myth in the coaching community that addiction is an issue that is uncoachable and to be avoided, which is kind of scary, but it's certainly in a lot of the trainings I've had, that's been like addiction is a red flag. And my experience as an addict in recovery and as a coach is that the exact opposite is true at certain points. So, I mean, not only have I personally benefited from coaching, but I also bear witness to the value of the work I do with my clients, most of whom are in recovery. In one example, I mean, a young man I've been working with for over a year now. I started working with him whilst he was still in secondary care, building relationship with him. We worked together as he was in transition out into life. And he would regularly tell me how much he appreciated the work we did together at that time, because it had him look at the positives and where he could feel, what he could feel proud of, what he valued, what his strengths were, and where he was doing well. And his confidence grew, and I know he felt well supported in the work we were doing alongside the aftercare program he continued to do with his treatment centre. He has long since completed aftercare, but has a continuum of care and support via the coaching. And he's a really good example of where coaching can help bridge that gap between treatment and life, which is such a vulnerable time for relapse. And people generally do enjoy the feel-good factor and feeling good factor of coaching. And as a colleague of mine said, coaching is like giving someone a hug, really, which it kind of is. You know, it's nice. This young man is now flourishing. We have worked on his confidence in the workplace, his relationships at work, his family relationships are unrecognisable, as he's done a lot of work at changing his perspectives and being able to find the common ground there and what he can be grateful for in those relationships. And he's seeing his family through the lens of reality, not self-centeredness or guilt. The work he's done in the coaching is enabling him to get, you know, right size, forgiving others and having compassion for himself. He's a loving son and a supportive partner, having also done huge amounts of work on his boundaries with his girlfriend. He's a model client for illustrating the many ways and areas coaching can really affect and support change. I mean, thank God. He was a great one to bring along as a case study. So approximately 75% of addicts are in employment. And so it's extremely likely that life, executive business, other coaches will encounter addiction in their work, either directly or where an individual or system has been impacted by addiction.
Sorry, can I ask what your source is for that?
Yes, and I knew someone would, and I knew I should do it. I got it directly from recovery, Deirdre Boyd's recovery data that she sends out in emails all the time. But the actual author of it I don't have, and I can easily find it for you if you want to come and ask me afterwards. So yes, so there are coaches are a terrific source for referrals and can channel more addicts to the treatment and recovery sector, I believe. This way we have a chance of getting more people into recovery, and this is also good for treatment centre and recovery professionals' business. I would love to see these two communities in closer contact. We really can help each other. So what I've noticed is how well recovering addicts benefit and respond well to a coaching approach, if the individual wants to be helped or wants to change. If an individual is loaded or drunk, that simply has no desire to get well or stop using, clearly they are very difficult to coach. It is vital the client is motivated to do the necessary work that the coaching will inevitably lead them to doing. They need to be invested in the outcome. A coach can do a lot to help the client to get a vivid sense of what they want and really connect to it, but cannot do the work for them. The job of the coach is to tap the individual, to just nudge them and guide them via open or powerful questions, reflection, and using various other tools that will bring them the awareness they need. So the client is then able to recognise what actions are required to keep them moving towards their desired outcome. Needless to say, outcomes may shift and change as more awareness comes through this process. It is not the job of the coach to either tell the client what to do, nor is it possible for them to do the work for them. But within this process of moving forwards, our clients naturally build awareness, self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-belief, and feel ever more empowered. As in any coaching relationship, it is vital for the client to want to be coached. And addicts in recovery are among the most responsive and well-suited to coaching, because they are already invested in their personal development. They understand how important it is to make changes to their thinking and behaviours. And as we all know, it's very difficult to do this on our own. I know many treatment centres and rehabs have integrated a coaching approach into their programme and recognise the benefits of this empowering and supportive way of being with another human being. And coaching skills and approach can change the relationship with those in your care, because it's about empowering them, has them take responsibility for their life and their choices. It teaches them to be conscious and intentional about their impact and who and how they want to be in their own life. I'm a bit like a stuck record, but anyway, coaching needs to be part of the holistic approach to treating addiction. With coaching as an added tier of support, I really believe we'll have more sustainable post-rehab success and long-term recovery. Coaching can support the work done in therapy, and therapy can support the coaching. These different ways of working can be very sympathetic and can work well in tandem. A good coach will always refer a client on to another support professional when this is required. All of us working in this field can support each other's niche strengths. And all this contributing to the addict having quality recovery, which to me means sustainable recovery. Once the individual wants recovery and wants to change, they need, as I say, a huge amount of support and encouragement and championing to effect and implement those changes. As we all know, the voice of the addiction is very powerful, and it takes a lot of support not to listen to that voice or to override it with a healthy alternative. So, which is why 12-step and other mutual aid groups work so well for recovery, and why coaching lends itself so well to the process. Recovering addicts cannot combat their condition on their own. They need a network to support them, ideally not just leaning on one individual, but many. And a coach is a vital addition to that network. We all want to be better versions of ourselves, and addicts in recovery have naturally been brought to the place where a change of lifestyle is paramount. They no longer have the daily goal of how to get their drugs, which has completely absorbed them till this point. But coaching offers the nurturing and supportive environment for exploring the answers to such questions as, now what do I want to do with my life, and what do I really want? How do I want to show up in my life now that I'm clean, and helping them in achieving it. And as I said before, coaching has the benefit of holding a very positive focus for the client. Addicts have come to recovery feeling really bad about themselves. Generally, all they have is a trail of failure and destruction behind them, informing them of how they see themselves and what they are capable of. And there is a huge and steady task ahead to building self-esteem and self-belief. A coach will always hold that their client is naturally resourceful and whole, as I've said a million times, and that they have within them the ability to do what they need to do, to achieve what they want to achieve. addicts are naturally very resourceful, and a coach can help them see how they can transfer their skills that have enabled their survival until now into skills for life in recovery. They will help their client to appreciate where they've done well and what their strengths are. Coaching offers a really supportive and inquiring approach to helping the client transition from seeing the world through the very selfish lens of the addict mind to the recovering perspective that enables awareness of others and an ever-growing empathy. Addiction never goes away, which means there is no limit to the amount of support the addict may need. We all know that addiction, once quiet or sufficiently treated in one area, is highly likely to raise its head in another, such as process addictions, etc. So, and on down the road of recovery, when our clients have some time under their belt, questions arise in life as they travel through it. Life throws up issues and challenges. I found it enormously helpful to be coached myself as I've been on this journey. Bless you. And I have clients with varying lengths of recovery time, from early to long-term recovery, who feel the same. I mean, creating a really fulfilling life increases chances of sustainable long-term recovery. I have a client who came to me wanting to revisit her views and long-held beliefs and work at changing them. And she says that coaching has enabled me to move forward, understand and put into practice another way of looking at my life after a lifelong entrenched belief system. It has given me the ability to have freedom, self-esteem and contentment. I've just realised I meant to move something around here, so I'm going to go backwards. Sorry about it. Coach, I shouldn't tell you, should I? You'd never know. Coaching. I'm not very good at keeping my thinking to myself. Coaching is helpful in the process of the client getting to know themselves and leading an authentic life by clarifying their values through self-learning and developing awareness, and integrating learning in an effective and efficient way. And then I've just got a few other sort of logistical things to say about coaching. You know, other ways in which it is useful. It's the flexibility that it offers, because it's very informal. It's really a conversation coaching. It can really be done anywhere. You know, cafes, hotel foyers, walking along the seafront. I've got a friend who coaches people. He takes them out on walks across the Black Mountains. Movement is good for shifting entrenched thinking. A lot of coaches work over the telephone, Skype, and other remote internet-supported forums, and encrypted forums for the additional anonymity and confidentiality. So coaching can come to the individual over the phone or in person. It's time effective in this way. It means, you know, the busy people don't need to be travelling to and from sessions. It's very accessible, or it can be. And also, you know, for where meetings are not for everybody, which, you know, they're not. It's always suitable for everyone. I mean, people are very anxious, don't like groups, want to remain anonymous, who aren't able to commit regular time, scared of meetings. You know, coaching is another means of supporting those people in their recovery. Okay, I've just forgotten about all those, see? I should have been showing you all these slides. But anyway, there we go, we'll rattle through. So coaching outcomes, you know, it aids and facilitates the process of change, builds positivity, self-awareness and knowledge, empowering, gives us the awareness of options, gives our clients the awareness of options, the choices in their lives, integrating new learning and behaviours, and helping them develop awareness of what they want and what motivates them and what gets in their way. And it is useful, you know, in recovery, particularly, you know, when the addict wants to stop using, wanting to can take them from the wanting to the doing. Any kind of transitions, treatment to life, dependence to independence and empowerment, moving, job changes, career changes, you know, any kind of transition. Exploring options when newly clean, you know, and God knows that's a scary place to be and so coaching is such a wonderfully supportive modality for that. Creating and achieving lifestyle choices, work, financial independence, relationship skills. I've said changes at any stage of recovery. Creating a really fulfilling life, which increasing the chances of sustained long-term recovery, and help and support achieving all any goals and overcoming challenges. When is coaching not useful? I'm not sure I've put that slide up. So when the addict is committed to using and doesn't want recovery, when the addict is loaded, and when there's an other untreated mental health issue. So, yes.
Is it, I mean, you're saying using, but surely if you mentioned people who are too shy to go to meetings.
Mm-hmm. If they're clean, though. I mean, they've got to want to be clean. They've got to want to stay clean.
Right. I mean,
it's controversial.
Yeah. I mean, if someone told me they were too shy to go to meetings, I'd say, well, you need to get a fucking meeting.
Well, I know, but that's where the coaching can help them get to the point of getting them there.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not advocating not going to meetings.
So you're not
but
advocating it as you're not saying that it's a substitute for going to meetings.
No, but I do think it's a way of helping people, coaching people into being able to get them to it through the doors of a meeting, and seeking the support that they need. And if they want to get clean, as long as they want to, then you've got something to work with. I don't know what success rate. I've got no data or research to give you. But I do know coaches that talk about mitigating the negative impact of addiction. They have clients who won't necessarily declare themselves as an addict, but have helped them kind of minimise their using. They wouldn't call it using. I might. So
yes.
There's room for discussion, debate, and yes.
What I had on that as well is if you tell someone what they should do or what you think they should do, even if you're absolutely right, the most likely response you're going to get is their inner defences are going to come up. Whereas if you create an environment where it's safe to be vulnerable, where you're trusted, where you can ask the question, I sort of agree with what you're saying about there's like a journey towards that point, where that person's defences are down, and they, you can explore that together, because then you're more likely to get to the root of what's really stopping them, as you said, getting the support that they need, whether that's meetings or some other group environment where there is vulnerable authenticity, where people can be real, and where the denial of the disease can't go underground again, and that word complacency coming, So yeah, I think that's where I see the value in kind of the coaching situation here. I think once someone makes their own decision about something very solid, they will act. Do you know what I mean? It's got power right on the inside of them.
Yes.
Yeah, change comes, I think.
Decision. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Yes.
I just wanted to slightly pick up on what you said about it doesn't work when people have other mental health issues. Untreated. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank you for picking that up. Because it can, but they do need to be being treated for it.
I think from my experiences, it has been working, as part of a network for those circumstances.
Absolutely, and I wholeheartely support that. I should have put a slide out there because on my notes it's got untreated in great big capital letters.
But as a coach, you refer them to people who have more expertise in those things.
Absolutely.
And work with them in that, at the same time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I know coaches who work with depression, people with depression, but you want someone who has a real sensitivity to it. But so it's not that you can't.
And I think sometimes it's just like you're saying, this perhaps touches the parts that others can't reach. So I was working with a boy who had Asperger's, and he was under the care of professionals, but he stopped eating completely, not completely, but his BMI had gone down to something like 14.8. So big. And the coaching work that we did was a lot about just taking him out for walks and talking, getting him to communicate, and then as part of that we had a meal. And over time, he one way.
Mm.
It sort of helped. He really came on in so many other ways as well.
Mm.
There was a really clearly defined purpose to this,
Mm.
you know, and it wasn't just making, you know.
Well, yeah, and what I'm really noticing about that is the quality of the relationship. You know, that's such a vital part of the coaching, or you know, any of the therapeutic relationships. The actual relationship is probably more powerful than anything, isn't it?
I think in that case it was.
Yeah.
But it was kind of, I wasn't doing that on my own without other professionals.
Yes. Yeah.
But to me,
Thank you.
You brought this word in, and I think it's a really important word for what we're talking about. For an addict to be able to recover, part of what has to happen is they have to learn to trust again. Because very often, if you're an addict, it's because you've come from a family that's been highly dysfunctional. You haven't known what's going to come next, and you haven't known how to trust because it's been chaotic. You've grown up in a dysfunctional system, and what coaching can do is help people begin to trust again that there is some sensibility to life. There is some sensibility to this relationship. It makes sense. And someone's not telling me you need to do this because with some kind of an agenda. They're saying, what is it you're trying to do with your life? And how are you going to achieve that? And that can be a really powerful question once you've got all that chaos out of the way.
Yeah. And questions they probably don't ask themselves. That's the thing. That's what I found about coaching.
To me, it's that trust
Mm-hmm.
that you've been sort of talking about and that you brought into the question that's really a vital component of coaching.
How, as a coach, do you put it into their head that they need to go to a meeting without advising?
I wouldn't necessarily. I mean, I might ask them. I might. How would I do that? Well, I would literally just ask them what's bothering them about not going. You know, why? I wouldn't ask a why question. I'd find a powerful way of asking them what's getting in their way. You know, what's the resistance?
Just like have you ever gone into a 12-step meeting?
Yeah.
Do you share about your recovery?
I do.
So that's a way you could put it to them?
Yes, I do. I don't withhold that.
And you wouldn't take the role of the sponsor. You'd suggest they go to meetings and find their own sponsor. If they want to go to meetings as part of their recovery.
Yes, if the subject matter of sponsorship came up, yes.
You would do if you're starting a meeting.
It might.
Well, yeah, but I mean, mostly if you're at a meeting, someone says, and I've got a sponsor, and you know, so at some point they're going to say, should I have a sponsor? And you go, well, what do you think? You know, what do you think?
Yeah.
Throw it back.
It's really interesting, right? Because when I did my 2 days, I did with the London Coaching Academy. They do like that free 2 days where you can do the training. And the thing that came up in me the most, and I kept tripping over it again and again, was the wanting to advise, the wanting to push what I thought was best for that person. And actually, that 2 days knocked it out of me. I'd suddenly had like a total epiphany about it. This was a few years back, and I can feel it. You know, when people start talking about these subjects, that thing to really take that stance where you can look at someone who's in a vulnerable position and trust that that person has got what they need inside of them, and you are not God to them. It's a really hard thing to do, and it's a really interesting thing to do, and it's what is best for them. And it's so hard to step back from that. I think they should do this, or what about that? Because it's so. You need that awareness of your own fears and what someone else triggers in you when they bring their vulnerability. Am I in connection with my own sense of vulnerability? Or do I think I'm kind of here now because do you get what I mean? It's like, it's a constant, humble process to actually really serve that person, I think, in a coaching relationship. I mean, that's just my thought. That's what comes to me as I'm sitting here. It's really hard to step back.
You have to self-manage.
I'm hearing you trying to say that that's what you do. You are saying it, you're not trying to say it, so I'm hearing you say it.
Thanks.
Stop digging.
That's great. I'm quite happy to not. Anyway, thank you. You've been really helpful. I've loved having you there. That's great. The other, I would love to continue this conversation, and we will, but I just want to quickly point to the fact that coaching in the coaching world, regulation is not yet a requirement, but that doesn't mean to say that there aren't regulatory bodies, because I think that can be a concern out there, that coaches, can go and anyone can say they're a coach ultimately, but there are ways of validating people's qualifications, and these are the organisations if you want to check them out. Anyway, I thought it was helpful maybe to just bring that in. Because coaching is a relatively new strategy, it doesn't mean to say it hasn't got its place. I mean, quite the contrary. It's because established therapies and treatments exist that we can see the gaps that coaching can fill. It's more than just complementary. I feel it's critical, really, empowering the addict in their recovery. I'm loving the fact that we've had some discussion. I'm really kind of done. I mean, I just hope that I'm leaving you guys with a better understanding of coaching, a sense of the value of coaching addicts, an appreciation of the merits of a systems coach, and recognition of the benefits of coaching during, in transition and after treatment, and along the road of recovery. I was just going to invite some discussion really about how you guys think we could integrate coaching more into this field.
I have a question. Sorry. Thank you for your presentation. I found it really, really interesting. Everything that you've mentioned about coaching hit something in me that I fundamentally agree with. I think the way that we approach clients, the way that we approach individuals entering into recovery, the way that you talk about how coaching happens in the room feels very important to me in the way that how I practice as a therapist. I think what I'm finding difficult to understand, and I may have missed it, aside from the flexibility that coaching allows, so being able to walk around, meeting in open spaces, and doing some of those different things, I'm not quite sure how coaching in the session with the individual is different from a person-centered, humanistic approach with someone who specialises in addiction treatment. They seem very similar.
Well, maybe they are.
Yeah, I don't there's...
I mean, I don't know if anyone else has an idea or want to answer that question.
I get the sense that, I dance person-centered training and a few others, but I just feel the person-centered approach is active listening, which is tremendous. I just get the feeling that coaching is more a goal-oriented.
And it's goals that they've established for themselves.
Skills that help people move towards their goals. That would not be a person-centered. Person-centered skills, I'm sure, come into coaching because you talk about listening and active listening. But I think it has a specialised focus. Is my
absolutely
sense.
Right. Yes, I mean, and then they're goals that they established for themselves. They're their own goals, what they want for their life. Yeah.
You also have goals in therapy that the patient, the client establish for themselves.
I think a lot of therapy.
It's not my goal. It's the goal that the client is bringing.
For instance, with psychotherapy, the goal tends to be why, the question why. In more dynamic forms of behavioural therapy, which is, I think it's more about the how and the what.
Yes.
It's very simple. There
seems to be more behavioural.
Oh, there are lots of crossovers for sure.
There are a lot of therapists who become coaches, and the thing is, we're not saying either or. It's both, and it's what suits the patient. Sometimes it's a combination, sometimes it's one or the other. I think Camilla's drive is that we just want wider options for the patient. Coaching is one of those options.
I think a big distinction is therapists work in the past and we're really present and future oriented.
Yes.
And then we let our clients, they can bitch for 2 minutes about what happened, but then it's over.
I'm not sure therapy works in you can define black and white like that.
No, but I'm not
you
saying
don't
all
process
trauma.
Yeah.
This is not what you do.
The coaching doesn't work in the past.
You don't process your history.
But what I was saying is not you can't define a therapy, it's just works
No.
in the past and
No.
works in the present future.
The coaching doesn't work in the past at all.
There is an overlap.
But there was also that question about sponsorship, and I think that's a really,
Yes, so David, have you got any, do you feel any clearer about that, or is that a question you still feel is left needing to be answered?
Well, I mean, there's obviously room for both, isn't there? And I thought it was interesting what you said about people who, for whatever reason, are finding access to the fellowship difficult. Their anxieties mean that they don't want to go to meetings or have bad experiences with the fellowships. And there are lots of people on their way into recovery who stumble again and again and again and again, and they're not always clear why that is. And it may be that a coach is better placed to help them find a positive direction than hitting their head against the brick wall in the rooms. But once you're in recovery, when you're talking about somebody who is established in their abstinence, if I can use that phrase, it's distinct from sobriety, then finding a path. I mean, I'm trying to seek something now in my recovery that I call emotional sobriety, which is well documented. And I think that path seems to be quite close to what you are offering your clients. And I've so far been moderately and intermittently successful in doing that without being coached. So that I was just trying to find a distinction there.
Well, I think one of the distinctions between a sponsor and a coach is that a sponsor is really, as I understand it, a guide and a mentor to take you through the steps. And it's a lot for a sponsor to hold the whole of their sponsee's life, you know, the whole of their life. So I would say that coaching is there for all the other aspects of life. You know, because a sponsor at the end of the day is just another person along the road of recovery, aren't they?
Well,
who's gone ahead.
I would say another addict that's on the road of recovery. Because the thing about coaching, which you pointed to, is we're trained to take ourselves out of the equation and to hold safe space for people to explore their own answers and not to give advice. And it's so tempting when you see someone struggling, isn't it? To want to say, but if you just go to meetings, if you just get a job, if you just, and it's so tempting to want to do that. A sponsor may or may not have that level of awareness, of maturity, and a coach, hopefully, a trained coach, will. So that to me is one of the biggest distinctions. Yeah.
And certainly coaching skills would be very useful to a sponsor, actually.
I was going to say that some sponsors unconsciously do coach their sponsees. That's a good thing. Those are sponsors who have an instinctive understanding of how to do that, but not everybody does.
That's absolutely.
And so this is a more of a clearly defined approach, and possibly with different emphases as well. Because to me, when I work with my sponsor, it's about my practicing principles in my daily life and my connection with my higher power, and that's very much what our step work is about. But with coaching, can have different focuses.
I mean, I have a couple of clients that I coach who are sort of doing sporadic bits of using, and or sort of the odd binge, I mean, I'm hoping that they will find abstinence. I mean, neither of these clients are willing to go to meetings. Some of these, I mean, I feel like I'm slightly in a holding pattern where I'm waiting for one of them to have a crash and go off to detox again. And but it's not for me. My role is to support them in their goals. Really, funny enough, the most successful. One of them was getting them to do not getting them, but supporting them while they went and did a sewing class. While they do their controlled drinking. It's not. I'm not.
Well, so it's mitigating, as I say. So it's mitigating some of the destructive elements. So otherwise, they may not have managed to get to their sewing class, perhaps.
I'm not sure that it is even just mitigating. I think there's been a lot of research done in the field of cancer survival and how to get better outcomes, and that is chronic relapsing condition as is addiction. And it seems to me that some of Matthew's clients are in the relapsing stage of the chronic relapsing condition, just from what you say.
No, they are.
But,
I would say they are, but they wouldn't say that.
No.
But I don't tell them that either.
Yeah. So and there's a great book that sort of analyses a lot of the research that's been done in the field of cancer, and one of the key things that indicators of better survival and better outcomes, apart from diet and exercise and the really obvious things, was belonging to a mutual support group. That is one of the 5 main ways to survive and thrive.
Yes, I am not advocating that people don't go to meetings. By the way,
but what I'm saying is, during the time of the during the relapsing phase, what Matthew's providing is that that support element.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, we'd just not be there.
The fact that they're seeing you says something somewhere in there.
Did you want to say something?
Some of them, it's always about trying to get into the networks for me. So I'm trying to get them to see a therapist, trying to ask them about I do ask, I do say, have you thought about seeing a therapist? I think one of them is depressed. I'm like, have you thought about that sounds. I mean, I am very much like a sort of. I say that sounds like it sounds like depression to me. That's my experience of depression. It sounds like depression. Have you thought about seeing a psychiatrist? But it's all no, because I'm not because I come to them. Because I come and see them, really.
You meet them where they are.
I meet them where they are.
Yes.
Both literally and
I get it.
Emotionally, and I meet them literally where they are and emotionally as well. It doesn't involve making an appointment and going to see a doctor.
But sometimes the best thing we can do for somebody is fire them.
You're sorry?
Is fire them. If you're, I've had clients where I had a client come to me and I could tell from the way she was talking that she was an addict and flaming non-recovery. And I said to her, I'm not going to work with you because you really need a therapist and you need to deal with this addiction.
No, absolutely.
And she was, and that was what that helped her get the treatment that she needed. So sometimes I think we need to set a boundary with people and say, I can't work with you. Do you really need a therapist, or do you really need X?
The origins of one of the clients was that I did some crisis working with a case manager. So I worked with a case manager, and I did some crisis management with this client and drove her to a rehab. And saying, well, she did the initial stages of detox, so that it's about, and she wanted me to do some coaching with her after she came out. So I'm really, at the moment, we're in the position of, I'm sort of, in my head, I'm sort of waiting for the next, thinking of an alternative treatment centre.
I'm a bit of a heretic here.
Go on.
I can't help thinking that supporting people in pretty much any way outside of recovery, if they're an addict, is a waste. It's partly a waste of time. It can also be actually destructive and can stop people from doing what they actually need to do. Sorry about that. I hope no one minds, and I'm not saying that's always true, but I just think that it can be true.
I think one of the things that Camilla's really made clear is that it doesn't work well when people are in addiction. And at that point, what you're doing is a sort of a crisis intervention, not coaching.
No,
it's a different,
I agree.
thing.
And there are degrees of active addiction as well. There are
So we
degrees
have
of active addiction. There are. I mean, it's not black and white. If you think,
Well, I disagree, but there we are.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect everyone in this room to agree with me because.
Can I invite this conversation to go on afterwards? Would that be okay? Thank you. Mark, did you want to say something?
I just want to shout out for training.
It
goes back to your point. Is when I first started trying to figure out what I wanted to do in 2012, my therapist, I said I wanted to help people. She said, well, this is how you can do it, and I was worried about lack of qualifications. And you're right, you don't need a qualification to be a coach. Over the last 5 years, having started out pretty much as a professional sponsor, that's how I thought of myself as in 2013. And then started to explore the industry and figured out what I wanted to do. And I heard about this coaching, so I've got some training. I think it's critical if we're going to do a good job and respect our clients, is that we know our limitations. Because as a coach, I'm not a therapist. And I think I can do great damage by chasing a client down their rabbit hole and thinking if I get them to cry and burst into tears, I'm doing them a favour. I don't think that's what a coach does. I think that's what a therapist does. And I prefer that to be done, if possible, in a therapeutic setting, like a treatment centre. A coach, I support what you're saying, which is we are trying to set goals. We're trying to get a client to set their own goals and find their own strengths. That's what I think a coach can do best.
But equally, I think in that there is room for tears and struggle.
You always have tears.
You know,
I'm not saying you won't.
No.
That's not my goal. If they come, that's in a way can be beautiful. It can be part of a beautiful moment.
Yes.
What I'm saying is I did used to think, because I've had a lot of therapy over the last 14 years, and I got quite excited by the concept of getting into the shit and the pith and thinking you can wallow in it and you're doing a good job. And I've learned my coaching teaching has helped me do what you just said, start trying to get them to figure out their own life and not wallow in the shit, because that can be an incredibly dangerous place to sit with someone if you're not trained to then take them out the other side. And that's what therapists are trained to do.
Yes, okay. What did you want to say something about that?
Something I wanted to say to some of this is that any decent coach will have a supervisor.
Yeah,
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
And a lot of these questions that are, is it coachable, is it not coachable, is it enabling, is it helping, should go to supervision. I think that's really crucial. And the other thing on the going to meetings and not going to meetings, there are hundreds of people who don't have access to meetings. And I just think, we're really lucky in London. And I don't know where everybody here is from. We're really lucky in London, and there is no excuse for not going to a meeting. But there are plenty of people who don't have the access that we have, and they need help too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi. I'm just wondering about funding, and we live in a world of evidence-based practice. And if recovery coaches are to stand alone as a service, how that is going to be judged, really. Because I used to work for Project Lucy, it's the same, where we gave mothers who had their children removed into care, multiple, 18 months to turn their lives around, in that they actually could live a really good quality of life without having another child. Because of women that had actually children.
Yeah.
But funding was fantastic because it saved money for councils and saved children to care. But we were coaching. Basically said pause, for 18 months if you can, you see what happens. But we were totally led by what they wanted to say. They set the pathway. We did most of the work in cafes, restaurants, nail bars, hairdressers, you name it. The money was there. And to me, recovery coaches is, I think, is essential. When I came into recovery, somebody helped me, but we didn't call it coaches and mentor. Not particularly a sponsor, that came later. But I needed someone in the here and now to get my life on track. And if I'd looked at the past or done any of those step further, I would kill myself probably. Re-traumatised, But I had someone and they just, they took me to meetings and stuff, but that's because I said, well, I might as well try it. But, it was all that. And all of these services, and I had a career once as a social worker, is all in the relationship. And every therapist knows this. It's gaining trust. And the women I worked with last year, they are they don't trust a single human being because they have their children taken. And they're still mothers, but they don't have children. And really, and drugs and alcohol, big self-medication. But it works, but that's because evidence-based research we can prove that this works. Therefore, people prepare to.
Well, coaching is still a new thing in this area, so I'm sure that will come. I don't have an answer for you really on that. But
I take my coaching into a treatment centre. I was asked to come in and deliver some. I used to work in treatment a long time ago, and I was asked to come in to fill in time while the therapists and the staff could do some paperwork and catch up on all that sort of stuff. And I said, well, look, I'm a recovery coach now. I'd like to come in and I will deliver a workshop for you, but it has to be on that basis. And they were really happy for that to happen, and the clients love it because it's something completely different. It's a very, very strongly 12-step centre, and they were happy for me to come in and do that. And I found it really challenging and exhilarating, beautiful to watch all these guys lighting up lighting up with something which is not necessarily you have to do this and you should do that and you need to do this. So I'd say that maybe one way forward, as we're talking about how we can bring coaching forward,
thank you,
is maybe to invite treatment centres to take us on in that respect. That is a good way in for it as well to become a part of an established for stat clients, for example, where coaching is imprinted it as treatment centres are starting to do in the curriculum in the programme. So I'm really excited about that. It's something I intend to do a lot.
Great, thank you. Oh, sorry, did someone hear what I said? Did you say that? No, sorry, go ahead.
Just very quickly, what you said I think is so true in terms of that, as a part of aftercare, a coach can be so useful.
Yeah.
So useful for somebody as they come out of secondary or tertiary, or even a lot of people can't go to secondary or tertiary.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they come back to their lives and they're like, that's the difficulty. Really, that's the difficulty, and that's where it's like, and my clients are so way beyond willing to get a sponsor or go to meetings often or anything like that. People will say, well, aren't you just a professional sponsor? No, God, I wish they had a sponsor. I wish they would be willing to get a sponsor. In my head, I'm thinking, I mean, it's that period after treatment, which is the sort of
yes, it's a great
somewhere else. Not a lot of people go to treatment not near where they just so fraught with difficulty, really. I think.
So workshops in treatment, support after through out of treatment.
Treatment centres are saying
yes.
Treatment centres that we coach people. We can work as a coach for people when they come out of treatment.
No, we were going to write some of these up.
The network.
I am writing.
Oh, you're writing them there. Brilliant. Well done.
I mean, we do a lot of work with prisons, exactly from that perspective. That once they come out, what happens? So we start the process while they're the final stages, and then carry on with them.
And do you meet your coach, or you meet your coach while you're in potential coach while you're in treatment?
Absolutely.
See if it works. If it is a sort of.
It's very helpful.
I think a lot of people have to go straight back into a very pressure work.
Yes, or family.
Yes.
Well, family, there might have been family therapy, but it's probably not going to have been therapy with the bank, or wherever they work for. Do you know what I mean? And so that, immediately all the triggers are there again. And so it's really, on a daily basis, working through changing perceptions of how the day exists on.
And I think systemic coaching helps in that, because it brings the individual the awareness of the impact family has on them and they have on the family.
Any other ideas?
Well, I really like the idea of the transition, extra support with transitioning. I don't know about chemical. I was a user, but not in I didn't go to treatment without a treatment of workaholism and burnout and coaching behavioural addictions and burnout and procrastination. I think the biggest thing is also transition. It's beginning and end. And kind of the most difficult thing I believe as an addict is remaining in process instead of the unknown, the fear of the unknown and trying to live in that. And it's supporting people in that process, particularly perhaps as they come out. I know when I got home it was really kind of daunting in the middle of tiny little nowhere to returning to, as others have said, the environment. And a systemic model, I really like the idea of. I don't know about it, but of course we are all part of systems. So it's kind of integrating that and supporting people through that. So I'm a real advocate and supporting.
Yes, okay, so I'm going to write the name of this organisation. It's called ORSC. So the Organisation of Relationship Systems Coaching Training.
And just to say they did come from psychotherapy and
yeah.
contain a coaching framework.
If anyone's interested or wants to know more, please come and talk afterwards. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. Oh, I found a message on the bottom of my shoe saying good luck, Camilla. Organisation, relationship, systems, coaching, training. Shall I write it all up. Do you want it all written out in long form? Yeah? Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate